Well, it's different for every behavior and every person, but there are basic goals of misbehavior. And most of the time, and you're very well aware of this, Nikki, whatever we give attention to increases. So if I give attention to you,
Hello and welcome to Positive Vibes. I'm Nicki Dennis. This space is where wisdom meets warmth, where we hold space for stories that feel deeply human and wildly hopeful. Today's guest, Martha Burich, is one of those people you meet and instantly think, I could learn a lot from her. She's a former child psychology professor, a long-time special education teacher, a mum, a recovery advocate, and the author of You Can Raise Happy, Responsible Children, a 5-star rated book that brings clarity, compassion, and calm to the sometimes chaotic world of parenting. But her credentials only tell part of her story. Martha was once an unwanted child who struggled with social anxiety. She was kicked out of 2 colleges. She lost her husband of 25 years and her mother within 6 months. And 7 years ago, she stopped drinking and began a whole new chapter. Now, she volunteers weekly at local jails, treatment centres, helping others rebuild their lives, one small decision at a time. She's full of stories from dogs arriving home in police cars and former addicts becoming thriving mothers. And what ties it all together? A belief. A belief in second chances, emotional honesty, and the power of parenting. Not just our kids, but ourselves. Martha, welcome to Positive Vibes. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm absolutely thrilled to be here, Nikki. Love that introduction. Thank you. I
You're
like
welcome.
her. God, she sounds great.
She is. Yeah, you're quite a lady, and you've got a lot of experience and wisdom to share with us today, Martha. So I'd like to start with you, uh, where you've lived quite a journey, as we've announced in that introduction. But from being an unwanted child to becoming a professor, teacher, and an author, looking back, how did you how did you think you had the strength to keep going through all those trying times?
That's a really, really good question. Yes, I was an unwanted child. And it's not because my mother didn't love me. It's because when she found out she was pregnant, she already had 2 older children. I had a 7-year-old brother and a 2-year-old. And my dad drank and gambled all the money away. So there was no food. So when she
Yeah,
found out she was pregnant, she was like, well, how am I going to feed this child?
yeah.
So it was that overwhelming worry. And, of course, and then what's interesting is she would tell me what a good baby I was. And I really think I sensed from the beginning that I didn't want to be more of a burden than I had to be. I
Yeah.
don't know, I just somehow felt that. But I was a very what's the word for it? They have the attachment. I was a poorly attached child, which means I was so always hanging on my mother. I
Right.
remember being not even 3 years old. My mother had gone next door to talk to the neighbor, and it was probably 8 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night. I walked out of the house looking for my mother in a
Mm,
diaper.
yeah.
Just, where's my mom? Where's my mom? And not only that, Nikki, when I was 15, my mother and I were shopping and I lost her. I started screaming in the middle of the store. I was 15, Mom, Mom, because I was insecurely attached.
Mm, that would have been quite traumatic. And then what gave you the strength to keep going, to be as successful and to do all the things that you've done throughout your life? Is that from learning from this, or how did you progress with that?
Well, I think my mother was a good example because she never
Mm,
gave. She had to quit school at 8th grade. Her dad forced her to quit school at 8th grade to make money for her brothers so they could go to college
mm,
because, my grandfather said women didn't need to have an
yeah.
education. So
How?
that certainly held
Mm,
her back, but she never was resentful. And so I learned a lot from my mother about bouncing back. And I remember one time She was so disgusted with me sometimes. Well, I was crying. I was crying because I had gotten kicked out of those two colleges. Oh, Mom, what
Mm,
am I? 1.0 GPA, Nikki. That's a D. And I was just crying because I love to cry and be a victim. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? My future's ruined. I tell you, the idiocy of youth. But anyway, that's a
yeah.
whole nother story. But anyway, my mother said, stop crying. You march right back to that college and ask them to let you back in. So I
Mm,
did. I went back and said, will you let me back in? And they said, yes. Yeah, 6 months probation. If you don't straighten up, you're out again. But if you
okay.
do, we'll keep you. And I did, of course. That made me grow up, and I made really good grades, and everything worked out.
Yeah. So it's really learning on your history and how times have changed, haven't they? To how women didn't need to be educated to look at yourself. Your mum must have been so proud of what you've become throughout your life, considering that she didn't have that opportunity. And you've been through, speaking of your mum, grief, addiction recovery, and loss, and still. You found a way to lead with laughter and love. What helped you turn that page?
Well, life is, life is. And if we don't accept life on life's terms, we're constantly going to be unhappy. We're constantly going to make other people unhappy, and we're not going to be able to move on with our lives. You know, birth and death, that's the cycle of life.
Yeah,
So if it lives, it will die. And we have to be prepared for that. And that's, grief is the price we pay for love.
yeah,
And sadness is the price we pay for happiness. So if we have these totally unrealistic expectations, and I find this so much for ourselves, our children, other people, that somehow our days should be easy breezy and everything should be easy. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. Every
not
day
at
is filled
all.
with frustration after aggravation, after annoyance, after whatever, whatever. And until we start to say, you know what, whatever happens, I can handle it. I whether I can handle it or not, I'm going to have to figure it out. Whether I have to fix it, whether I can find somebody else to fix it, whatever it is. If I don't figure it out, it's going to cause some problems. So
Mm,
we really need to grow up and
yeah,
say, okay, stop wishing for less problems and start wishing for more skills and abilities and the patience and everything else to deal with what we're confronted with.
yeah. And what you said earlier, I'm all about is how you show up, is how people show up around you. So that really resonated, what you said there earlier. So let's talk about you stopping drinking. How or what shifted 7 years ago for you, and what does sobriety mean to you today?
Well, most of my life I was a weekend drinker, which does not mean I wasn't an alcoholic. An
Mm,
alcoholic is a person who can't have just one drink most times. If I
yeah,
had one, 20, one was never enough, 20, 30 was one was too many, and 20 and 30 were never enough. So that's one way you can tell if you're an alcoholic. You won't just have one. But
yeah,
I retired. And so because I really liked my jobs, I would just wait for the weekends most of the time to drink. And once I retired, well, guess what? I had no reason not to drink, did I? So the next
mm,
thing you know, I'm up and I'm drinking by 10 in the morning. And then I kind of started thinking, I did that for a few months and I thought, Is this really how you plan to go out? I mean, you could live for another 30 years. Are you going to drink
yeah,
yourself to death? Or are you going to, and I was just acting ridiculous. I was just thinking ridiculous thoughts. And somehow I seem to think that alcohol, and here with all my education and my ability to help people and my
yeah,
knowledge, that somehow it was useless. And see, I fell into that whole trap of, I guess, society tells you get to a certain age, oh, well, sit at home and watch TV or go play golf. Well,
mm,
that was never me, so it couldn't be me in retirement either.
yeah,
So I went to AA, and I went to this. I was listening to a podcast. This is the last night I drank. The last night I was listening to a podcast, and the woman who was hosting the show, she said, "I dare you, I dare you to ask God to make you quit." And she was talking about whatever addiction we have, donuts,
yeah,
whatever. And I thought, ooh, even with a few drinks in me, I thought, no, 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 that's how you wind up in jail or the hospital is when you ask God to make you do something. I know, I'll ask him to help me. So I did. I said, God, please help me. I can't live like this anymore. Next thing you know, boom, the thought came to my head, go to AA. I looked up the
Yep.
meeting. It was the next morning at 10 a.m. and I never looked back.
Well, congratulations on that. And you're right. It's society is as you said, you're a weekend drinker, and when you retire, you've got all the time that you have to do whatever you want, and that can be a very easy entrapment is to start drinking every day. And yeah, it's great that you were able to pull yourself out of that and succeed and do the wonderful work you're doing now. So, just on your wonderful work, you've written a beautiful book about raising happy, responsible children. But your approach isn't about punishment, it's about presence. Can you tell us about your three L's about parenting and life?
Right. Well, the three L's, love them enough to say no. The biggest problem people's biggest problem, and here's we become addicts, alcoholics, and unpleasant human beings, is because if people who can't take no for an answer don't know how to give themselves no for an answer, don't know how to say no to
Mm,
themselves. So the next thing you know, they become obese, unhealthy. They're unpleasant to be around because they don't think about anybody but themselves, because they don't know how to say no to themselves. Self-discipline requires that you say, no, I'm not going to do that right now. No, that's not the right thing to do. No, I'm going to have to wait to do that. No, now I need to get to work. I need to be on time. That's self-discipline. Now I need to go to the gym. Now I need to, okay, I'm aggravated with someone, but I'm not going to yell at them or lash out at them because that's not the right thing to do. So self-discipline is learning to say no to yourself. So when we
mhm,
don't learn to accept no for an answer, we become very, very unpleasant human beings and cause a lot of havoc in society, in our
mm,
families and in society. So love them enough to say no and let them fail. And the example I give is, the child comes home from school and says, oh, mom, guess what, Dad? There's a play at school. There's a play, and I'm going to try out for the lead. Oh, no, no, honey. Oh, I'm glad there's a play, but the lead, you might not get it. Why don't you try out to be one of the trees? You'll probably get that. Well, then that sets us up for all our lives, not going for what we really want,
yeah,
going for what we think we can get, going after the job. Well, I think I can get that job. I'm not going to go after the job I really want. Nobody will hire me for that. But I bet I could get this job. So
yeah,
then we're constantly not living up to our potential. So it's love them enough to say no, let them fail, and lead by example.
yes,
Honey, you're on your phone too much. Stop watching so much TV.
yeah,
Words are cheap. Words are cheap. We need to be the example.
yeah. Great advice there. And I love the one about failure because some of my best learning was when I failed. And it was it led me to move to the right path that I was meant to be on. But I just didn't see it may not have worked, but it gave me that wisdom to head into the right direction and encourage me to do better. So, in regards to people, why do you believe people, and when I say people, kids and adult alike, misbehave? What's really going on beneath that behavior?
Well, that's a really good question. Well, it's different for every behavior and every person, but there are basic goals of misbehavior. And most of the time, and you're very well aware of this, Nikki, whatever we give attention to increases.
Mm,
So if I give attention to you every time you're in a bad mood or you have a fit or you have your little tantrum, well, guess what's going to increase? Because then that's when you get attention. And then you also figure out that's how you get what you want. Because if I give you what you want when you act poorly, you're going to act poorly more and more in order to get what you
mm,
want. And unfortunately, for a lot of parents, it really is okay here, no. And then the child screams and cries, here, okay, have it, just shut up or get out of here, kid, you bug me. They don't really put it that way, but just all right, just go on. I've got things to do. Okay, okay. And so in order to, have a little peace, we give in to the child. But what happens is that really sets us up for much less peace.
mm,
And when you finally do learn how to say no and put your foot down, it's going to be a real battle because that child has learned that they have to scream maybe for hours in order to
mm,
get because they're just going to go longer and longer and longer because they're going to be like, well, something's not right here. They never said, they always change their mind. They always change it to yes. So they're just continued to ramp up their poor behavior. But
Yeah.
you're going to have to suffer through it for a little bit.
Yeah, I was just reflecting back when I was a child, just badgering my parents. Can I? Can I? Yeah, going from one to the other, and they used to play off of to each other. Send me to my mum, send me my dad. Yeah, go back. Yeah, but it took hours to break them down, but I did get there in the end. So that's really about what you were saying in regards to being present and also have the patience. Because I was going to ask you the next question was about what one real life way a parent could respond differently to their child when they're acting out. So that would be saying no, or is there any other advice you could tell them?
Well, you have to stay calm. You absolutely have to stay calm because that if you don't stay calm, what you're doing is you're giving in to their need for attention and their need for power. So, and I remember one time, I had some really terrible students, and and I remember one of them, I befriended her, and I really made a point of making her my friend because she was the ringleader. And
Mm.
she came in and she said, we used to plot how we'd make you mad
Oh.
because it would make them happy to see me
Mm.
mad. And see, I had not realized I had not grown up enough to stop with that anger stuff because it wasn't getting me anywhere. And the same thing with parents. Stay calm. And let me give you an example. I went to a dog training seminar with a canine police officer who trains dogs. We had about 20 unruly dogs there. And
Mm.
one dog, anytime someone would get up or another dog would walk by him, he would growl and lunge at them. So they worked on that behavior right at the start, and it really just took like 5 minutes to get rid of that behavior and correcting that behavior. So then he said, "Now you just sit over here with your dog, and every time he misbehaves, correct him." And what it is they wear a choke collar, and you
Follow.
just
Mm.
pull it a little bit. You don't drag the dog, you don't
No.
hurt the dog, you just get their attention.
Yeah.
So she had total control of the dog. Well, about 30 minutes later, the dog's back to, growling and lunging
Mm.
and the man said, "What's happened?" And she goes, "Well, I just don't know. He's misbehaving and it's making me very frustrated." And he goes, "Yes, the dog can tell that. Your
Mm.
frustration is setting him off. Now he's so concerned about you being angry and frustrated and your feelings that he can't concentrate and he can't behave. That's
Yeah.
why you must, even if he's done it 1,000 times, you have got to correct him as if it's the first."
Mm.
And this is so difficult. So just like, God, why you do that again?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, how many times? How many times? I'm sick and tired, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's, you have to, every time you have to simply say, "You know what, honey, we don't do that here. We
Yeah.
don't do, we're going to have a conversation. Do I need to put a note up? How can I help you so that that doesn't happen again?" Because does it frustrate you? Because it does frustrate me, and I love you, and I want this to, I want you to have a good life. I want all of us to have a good life. So what do you think we could do about this? So every single time you have to respond, don't react.
Mm.
Respond, don't react, and don't get mad and all in a tizzy. Now you can certainly say, "You know what? This frustrates me, and I feel annoyed when you do this." You can say that, but be calm.
Mm.
Be
No, that's
calm.
great advice because, again, yeah, being humans and also animals with humans, we pick up on each other's energy and feed off that. So that's wonderful advice. Thank you. So you've also volunteer in jails and treatment centres every week. Now, that would be powerful work that you're doing. Can you share what you've learnt about working in those centres with people that are struggling with addiction? What have you learnt from the people that you've met?
When we're actively in addiction, there are many reasons for addiction, but it's usually because we are stuck in victim. We're
Mm.
stuck in this shouldn't have happened to me, or this shouldn't be happening to me. Woe is me, and it's not my fault, it's somebody else's. Or even if we think it is our fault, we think somebody else helps us perpetrate it and helps make it worse. So we don't take responsibility for our own lives. And as my mother told me when I was young, if it is to be, it's up to me. But if we're going to play that game, and if this wouldn't have happened, if that policeman wouldn't have pulled me over, If she wouldn't have said that to me, if that blah blah blah, we always blame somebody else.
Mm,
So
true.
I see that a lot. They just do not. Well, and here's a really big one, Nikki. Mom loved you best. If there are more than one child in your family, you'll hear that till the day you die. I was
Mm,
on the treadmill with a woman. She's like 75. Her daughter's 50. And her daughter was still crying. You treat my sister better, blah, blah, blah. At age 50, she's still carrying on like that. And the woman said to me, she goes, I try to tell her, no, I love you all the same. I said, you know what? Are you a robot? Are your children robots? No, we can't love our children the same. We love them
mm,
differently because they're different people. So it's going to be expressed differently. But you know what? Even if your mom and dad did love your brother or sister more, um, wake up, honey. Stop letting that interfere with your life and your ability to meet your goals. If you're going to
mm.
keep being a victim and a big crybaby, if you're going to use that all your life, well, mom loved my brother, which I do too. Mom loved my brother better. I love to say that. And but I got you, Al. I got you because I wrote a book. But anyway,
Well, you got something out of it, didn't you?
but sibling rivalry
Yep.
benefits as much as it holds back. It's
Yeah.
really the person, they have to decide. Okay, how, because my brother was a genius, oh, your brother's so smart. What am I, chopped liver? So I
Mm,
had to prove to my mother, well, I'm smart too. And so because of that, I was a good student. I
mm.
did, I got degrees and things. So
Yep.
everything has two sides, and we
Yep.
really have to look and see what's the blessing in this. Okay, there's a curse here, but how can I turn it around? Because otherwise, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today.
Yeah.
And I have to figure out a way to accept it. People aren't going to do what I want them to. Gosh darn it.
Yeah.
If only, but they
Yeah.
won't. So I have to think to myself, all right, they're not going to change. How am I going to figure out how to deal with it?
Mm. And you're so right. We're all different human beings. We've all got different DNAs, and we all bond differently with everyone, including our parents. So you're so right in that respect. And I'm all about don't compare yourself with others because there's no point. We're all different, and really lead your life in as authentic as you can, and move
Mhm.
forward, knowing that you're doing the best. So yeah, you're so right in that respect. So you've got some really good stories, some incredible stories to share with us. Now, I'm a dog person, and you've mentioned about the police dogs and the training, but I've heard about your dog arriving home in a police car. I need to hear more about that one.
Banshee got out. I have two rescue dogs. Banshee's a Labrador, and he's about 8 years old. And this was about 4 years ago or five. Anyway, he got out of the house, and boy, we live out in the woods, so when he gets an opportunity, he's gone. He's
Yeah.
chasing rabbits. There's chickens, down the road. There's horses. He's like, oh my goodness, I'm in heaven.
He's a free
So he
spirit.
went. He went to the horse farm. Well, the horse farm can't stay. That is not going to work, Banshee.
Yeah.
So they called the police. And they said, this strange dog. So the police got him because he's a friendly, sweet, sweet dog. He got him, put him in the back of the patrol car, and my son was out looking for him, walking down the road looking for him. Well, here comes a police car. We rarely get police around here. And then Anthony looks in the back of the car, and there's Banshee, a
Oh,
prisoner.
good story to tell. Yes. They're wonderful animals. They yeah put so much laughter and love in your life. And what about the woman who turned her life around, who's now thriving as after her meth addiction? Can you tell us about that story?
Oh yes, yes. I've been very fortunate. I've had many success stories from the jail, and
Mm.
it's really unusual. But I went to a I went to a celebration of recovery and volunteerism and an awards dinner, and there were like four or five of my ladies from the jail there. It was
Oh
so
wow.
wonderful. And they had years of sobriety. But this gal, when she was in jail, she was about 5 months pregnant, and meth was her drug of choice. But when she found out, she was a very intelligent woman, very lovely girl. When she
Mm.
found out she was pregnant, she cut out all drugs. And so she's in jail, and it was interesting. I think she was in jail with her mother-in-law. That's another story. But anyway, So we're all talking to her about, oh boy, when the baby comes, so we said, oh, when the baby comes, you're not going to get any sleep. So she just said as innocently as anything, yes, that's why I'm going to have to go back on meth.
Oh, okay.
I know we could, we're all like, like, yeah,
Wow.
what? So, the ladies at the jail had a talk with her and said, no, no, hon,
Yeah.
it's not going to work that way. If you want to keep your baby, you need to stay off drugs. And, this girl, Nikki, what happened to this girl? Okay, she gets out of jail. She's 9 months pregnant. Her mother died.
Oh,
She goes to the funeral. And then 3 weeks later, I think before the baby was born, her father died
oh my
because her
Lord.
dad was an addict and he died of an overdose. So
Mm,
she lost both parents within a month or two, and she still stayed strong. And now her baby is, I think, 1.5, maybe going on 2, and she's going to be she she's pregnant again.
oh,
New
lovely.
baby. The boy is due soon. So I think she's been sober. Well, I think going on 3 years now, or without drugs. So yeah, that is a really good success story. And I had another gal. She had another wonderful success story. She's been sober, I think 3 years now, and it really is. It's so gratifying to see.
Yeah. And has
And
that
anything's possible.
showing up for others, has that become part of your healing as well?
Oh my goodness, I learned so much. When I go to the jail and the treatment center, it reminds me, you know what, you need to stay vigilant.
Mm,
Because, at any time, there was a woman with 30 years of sobriety, and she would take people to the treatment center. And at one treatment center, they had a bottle of booze out by the tree. We're going back years. And because,
mm,
sometimes you take somebody to treatment, they need a quick drink, otherwise they'll have a seizure.
yeah.
Well, anyway, she saw the bottle there and she picked it up and started to drink it and was like this. And the person that was with her knocked it out of her hand. She'd been sober like 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you have to be vigilant. You need to go to meetings. You need to
Mm,
stay with the winners, stick with the winners. Tony Robbins tells you that. How do you excel in your career? You find somebody who knows how to do what you want to do. But when it comes to drugs and alcohol, you find somebody who's got years of sobriety who
yeah.
can tell you what to do.
Mm. No, that's powerful stuff. And can you tell us, Martha, one moment of kindness that changed your life?
Oh, yes. Nikki, I used to be I mean, I was an adult at this time. I was so afraid of the world. How I ever got a husband. I don't know how I ever got through life. I don't know. I was so afraid of the world.
Mm,
Anyway, I used to go to the grocery store in full makeup. I put on a nice dress and everything else. And it was very, very important to me if people would just smile at me
mm,
and talk to me, it would make my day.
yeah.
So, just little things of kindness in the grocery store where someone would just smile at me and say hello would absolutely make my day and
Mm,
and help me to get through the day because
mm,
I was so other dependent. I didn't understand that, that comes from inside. Acceptance comes from inside. But in order to accept yourself, you need to feel acceptance from the outside. So there's
exactly.
a process, the only way out is through. You can't
Mm,
just accept yourself if the whole rest of the world won't, and you've never known what acceptance is. So there's an entire process to that. So yes, just, small things of kindness. Oh, and I had a professor when I went back to college, when they let me back in, we were going to do a paper. And I went up to him and I said, and he was a Holocaust survivor.
oh,
It was so
wow.
interesting. And
Mm,
I said to him, I said, what I'm going to do about this paper, I'm really, and plus I was older than all the other kids, I'm afraid I won't be able to give you what you want and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, honey, you don't worry about that. You just do your best. And I know
mm,
you're going to do fine. Just
yeah.
write your paper. It's going to be okay. And that really was very helpful to me.
Yeah. And you're so right. I'm all about, the smallest act of kindness is acknowledging, giving someone that little smile, saying hello. You just don't know the ripple effect that's going to have on that person. And for you, it was about being seen and acknowledged and giving you that confidence within you, as well. So that's beautiful, to hear. So, Martha, can you share a piece of advice that you keep coming back to often?
Hmm. You know what? Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yesterday's gone. I don't know what you did yesterday, but if you need to make up for it, start figuring out ways that you can make up for it. Tomorrow's not here. You just worry about today. If you do your best today, tomorrow's going to take care of itself. So just do what you can today. One day at a time, that's all you worry about. And
Mm.
you know what? I know plenty of people, whatever you've done, who've done 100 times worse than you. And they've been forgiven and they've moved on and been able to have good lives because they live one day at a time and they decided, you know what? I'm not who I was yesterday. I'm a new person. I'm a better person, and I strive every day to be a better person. And if that's you, it's all going to work out.
Yeah, that's a great one to come back to. Yes. And in one sentence, can I ask you, what does positive vibes mean to you?
Oh, positive vibes to me means, you know what? Whatever happens, it's going to be okay. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, Martha, where can people grab your book, connect with your work, or hear more of your wisdom?
Well, the book is up at Amazon, as you can see in my background.
Yes.
And also you can go to my website, marthaburich.com. And it's marthaburich.com. Everything's up there. You can find me on Facebook. Join my Facebook group for parents, Mastering Child Behavior, or my private Facebook group for people who'd like to stop drinking or drugging, which is Get Sober, Stay Sober. Uh, so you have many opportunities. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm all
Yeah.
over the place.
That's great. That's wonderful. I'm sure our listeners will be looking for you. And finally, what would you say to someone who feels like it's too late to change, too late to parent better, or too late to start over?
It's never too late. I met a man, he's 88 years old. He didn't start writing books until he was 80, and he's written 4 books, written and published 4 books. As long as you're alive, things can change. So never quit, never stop. If you want it, do not give up. And there's no such thing as, I have a girlfriend, she's 83. She was 83, she met a man. 83. She already raised all her children as great grandchildren. And those two are two peas in a pod and they're so happy together. 83.
It's
And I have
wonderful.
another girlfriend, she's 70. Her boyfriend's 50. You don't know what tomorrow brings. You don't know. Just
No,
live.
yeah, live the every day as it's your last. Yeah, great. Well, Martha, thank you for being a light, not because your life was easy, but because you chose to grow through it. You've shown us that parenting isn't about control and healing isn't about perfection. It's about love, limits, and being brave enough to show up again and again. So thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. It's been great fun. You're a wonderful, wonderful host.
Thank you. And to our listeners, whether you're raising kids, breaking cycles, starting over again, or just learning how to love yourself better, you can. You really can. And your story, no matter how messy, matters more than you know. This is Positive Vibes. Let's keep building a world where compassion is leadership, laughter is medicine, and second chances are sacred. Sending you all love and positive vibes. Bye for now.